Probably 15 minutes, you know, running through the lines, and I'd like to throw some things out there people thought. I'll make it as brief.
I would be good at that.
Put it right towards the end.
This is rocking. Because I'm all finished.
I'm not ready to decide on the roads.
I mean, usually you're arguing.
Consistency. That's why.
Hello? I can hear you, yes. No. Yeah, I have to be able to see you for you to vote. You can.
Call this meeting to order. We start by saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll open up public hearing number 1. Oxford Provisions LLC doing business as Alternative Essence Adult Use Cannabis Store License Renewal. Anybody here got anything to? Okay. Nobody's got anything to say? I'll open up public hearing number 2. Thompson Lake Cannabis LLC Adult Use Cannabis Manufacturing License Renewal. Any issues? All right, I call the public hearing closed. Open up the Selectmen's meeting. I take a motion on our last.
Motion to approve the minutes.
I hear a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any adjustments to the agenda?
The only thing I have is this, when you sign the warrants, it's 76 rather than 75.
Public comments. Anybody have any issues? Yes, ma'am. Could you state your name, please?
Sure, Michelle Dunlap on, from Oxford, East Oxford Road. We've been around for about 6 years, bought the property, and have been just inundated with water. Inundated, every storm, I know, it's water, I get it. The culvert has just about collapsed. The, granite around the culvert, large, huge slabs have moved. The water is going under the road now. Today we called the fire department, I called Adam as well. You weren't in at 6:30 this morning, so it's okay. But I called the fire department because of course I couldn't get a hold of the road guys. They came out, they blocked off the road. Now within the center of the road, it is starting to cave. You can definitely see it. Every time it gets repaired, they do what they can and they put gravel in, and it washes away within minutes. So the other side of this Willow Brook is what it is, comes directly through the middle of our property. We put tens of thousands of dollars into this property to raise the land to kind of do our part. I've called, multiple folks. I've talked to EPA. EPA's been out. We've had permits. We've been told for years now that it's going to be repaired. And here I am. We have nothing, and it is the culvert with the quarry. No offense to the quarry, but now that it has been back in business, the first 2 years of the 6, we didn't have any water issues. Once the quarry opened, we were getting slammed by that mountain. They redirected the water, but now I think they have a new road that goes up along Westview, and that water was coming through this morning into a blocked culvert up there. That's a private road, that's not our issue. But once one of the neighbors had cleaned out that culvert today, oh my God, it was like we're surrounded. So I'm just here to open it up. I need help, I need suggestions. I put so much money, my husband's very ill, and I'm just trying to get some help from the town.
Are you aware of this, all the details?
We've talked a couple times.
Yep, and I also had Shane go over
He
and,
did, he called me.
what were your findings today? Do you mind?
This culvert is an ongoing issue. I believe it's a 4-foot steel culvert. And it's probably half to 3/4 clogged with tons of sand and sediment. And the best that we can do to clean it out is to dredge out the downhill side and get rid of all that sand so that when you get rain or the water naturally flushes the culvert. But I think it's getting to the point where it won't flush completely on its own. The road's currently blocked. When I was there earlier, I did not assess any sort of undermining or structural damage to the road. It's blocked for now. Tomorrow the water recedes, hopefully we'll reassess that. I know Jim spoke with the town's engineer, and I guess the best way to fix that in a more appropriate way at this point is a box culvert. And I know that's an expensive project. As far as environmental impact downstream, I don't know if there's ever been a study or if it warrants one, but there is a lot of water that comes through that area, and even if the culvert was completely unblocked, I don't think we have a lot of snow melt and a lot of rain. I don't think it would be adequate regardless. That's just my personal assessment, but I can attest to Michelle, that they have done a lot of work to the property to divert water. There is another culvert behind her residence on that private road, Westview,
Yes.
that occasionally gets inundated with water and it can't handle all the water, and she's going to be surrounded by water. It comes down Westview, but that's outside the town's scope of responsibility. The problem with dredging is if the brook is dry, I don't believe we need any permitting, but if we have a wet summer and there's water flowing, we just can't, unfortunately, I don't think we can dig into that without ending up on EPA and DEP's radar. I'm not an expert on that at this point, but.
And I'm on their radar, because we do have an open permit that we just did the land work on the other side. And that's, it is EPA. department. So my concerns, I guess, is that now we have water in our basement, brand new house, 5 years old. Water is coming into the basement, and it's because our water level is just raising in the ground. It's only happened twice out of the 6 years. Once last, I think, year or the year before we talked, Adam, that was really bad. And today, there's more water coming in, but, I'm not gonna speak to that, it could be just really, truly, there's so much snow, there's so much rain, so I'll give it that. So, yeah, I'm looking for guidance from the town.
Can we have the engineer take a look at it?
He's been out, he's already been out. He was out, last summer, and
Why don't I call Rob Shore, the engineer, and revisit this and see where we're at, and
What is the street that's on?
East Oxford Road.
East Oxford. I would recommend that Rob be called, and if Rob was there last year, I guess I'd like to know a year later why nothing's been done. He's gonna know exactly what permits are gonna be needed, and, when that was being explained, it's gotta have a bigger culvert, and a box culvert is probably the best option for that. But I would have him come out and look at it and bring back his recommendation to us, because this doesn't sound like, it should go on any longer.
Thank you, and the last thing I'd like, thank you, Sharon, and the last I'd like to add to this is not slamming the quarry again, but because of the quarry, there is a tremendous amount of traffic, heavy trucks that go over that culvert, and I swear I see it shrinking, because it's just getting slammed, and our house shakes, actually. Our house shakes when the trucks go over that road because it's so poorly maintained, and, I'm just waiting for those cracks in the cement, so, just wanted to say that, thanks for your time. Look forward to follow up.
So you got that, Adam?
yep, thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment? All right. Business items, Oxford Provision LLC, do business Alternative Essence license renewal.
Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Any problems? Chief Jack?
All in favor? 5-2, Thompson Lake Cannabis.
LLC.
What's that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
All good.
All in favor?
Yes.
5-3, Honey Badger Bar and Grill, Class A Restaurant liquor license renewal.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
No issues.
All in favor? 5-4, ATV access road request, Oxford Trail Riders ATV Club continued.
I'd ask that we table this because I need more time to look at it. I'm not sure about everybody else.
I agree with tabling it as well, because I think that this board needs to look at all of the roads that were proposed the last time, in addition to the roads that have been approved. And I think this board needs to come up with some sort of provisions concerning how these roads are determined to be closed and their locations. So I would agree with tabling. But I think we ought to have the discussion, whether it's a workshop or not, because I asked it to have this back on the agenda.
So you want to discuss it tonight?
I don't.
You
I'm
don't?
okay with
Okay.
tabling it, but I just wanted to make that
Yeah.
point.
I got it.
I think we've got to squeeze in a workshop somehow.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask a question. Have we had problems?
Ricky, that's Caldy.
Normally, no, we're not.
No, Caldy.
So why we have to be doing this?
They're asking to add a whole bunch of roads that aren't already on there.
7 days.
I can't hear him.
I don't see a problem with
The problem is there are roads on that list that should not be open to ATV traffic. I don't know if you can hear me, so I'm talking louder.
I can hear you.
Okay, specifically Mill Street and Pismo Beach Road should not have ATV traffic. Those roads are 17 and 18 inches wide, and feet wide, excuse me. And they're already heavily trafficked in the summer, and there's too many kids and foot traffic on those roads. And every person in my neighborhood has already commented on it because I let them all know. We need to look at not opening roads in the village and residential areas to ATV traffic. I live there and I know what it does. So yes, we do need to look at it.
Okay,
On the trail, it goes right by my house, I have no problem.
You don't live in a residential village area like I do, Caldy. You are over in East Oxford and it's a different type of neighborhood.
Yep. How much traffic is there on Mill Street and on Pismo Beach, ATVs?
They shouldn't be there, Caldy, because of the width of the road and because of, there's no sidewalks on those roads. There are kids that are on those roads all the time. There are cars that are parked on both sides of the roads. And when you have kids playing on those roads, they can't see anything. You have a tremendous amount of traffic on Pismo Beach Road and Mill Street from vehicles going down to the beach, the summer program there. It's not the same type of area that you live in. I have no problem over in your area because there's no traffic. We have a lot of traffic. So it does need to be looked at.
can we, set up a workshop for, we want to come in a little bit early?
Yeah, if that's what the board would like to do, keep in mind, you've got, budget meetings starting at 5 for the next couple of weeks, for the Board of Selectmen. But what we could do is we could just put the workshop at the end of the Selectmen's meeting if you wanted to, like we did at one other time, so.
Good.
Would that be,
Why don't we do that?
okay?
All right?
If I may, just, I have included copies of all the minutes I could find in regards to approvals in the past, in the
Mhm.
minutes and what was discussed, just for reference sake in your stuff there, so.
You do?
2 weeks?
I was just gonna look at the calendar, so if, on the 20th, at the end of the meeting, do the workshop, is that what we're thinking?
Sounds good. All right, we'll postpone that. 5.5, police vehicle RFP.
Did you actually vote on the motion?
We did not.
No,
No.
Thank you.
I'll second. Amos motion.
To table it, you want to vote to table it? Okay. It's first, second. Oh, any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Okay, police vehicle RFP.
So at the last meeting, the board reviewed the RFP we received for the police vehicles. The one that we're probably focusing on tonight was the Dodge Durango bid from Bessie's for $37,746. It was a pretty competitive price. The board asked that I confirm with Bessie's on whether or not they'd be willing to sell the town a second vehicle at the same price. The police chief has confirmed that they would be willing to do so. So, come to you with that.
And that is to replace the one that was in the accident. And if a second one is decided to be purchased, it's the second one that's in this year's budget proposal.
Right, yes, so the one that we just approved last time was to replace the one that crashed, and then this one would be the one on the capital plan for the budget cycle we're about to talk about. So if we did this, that would be removed, because we wouldn't need to purchase it.
I make a motion that we purchase 2 vehicles at that price, because you're not gonna get another one at that price. And then we can remove it from this year's capital plan. And we use the funds from the
Fund balance policy?
Yeah, the fund balance policy.
How long did they tell you if we could get that right?
Basically 8 to 10 weeks.
Okay, so we time to get that, get the other. Shall I hear a second on that?
Second.
We have any more discussion? All those in favor of ordering two instead of one?
He agrees, you can.
Oh,
Okay. Five, six, review pending property tax foreclosure.
All right, so you folks in front of you have a spreadsheet prepared by the town clerk. What she's done here is when she took over as the town clerk, I asked her to review all the liens, just start to finish, go over everything. So having done that, what you see here is a list of the pending they're not pending, we haven't sent out the notices yet for the foreclosures, but the yellow marked on here, those are mobile homes that are not on land. And in the past, the board has considered waiving foreclosure on those, rather than trying to end up with taking possession of these. It does not mean the taxes are not owed, it just means that the town would not take possession of those particular residences. Also, yeah, so those are the big ones. So as I would recommend that the board consider that, as mobile homes that are not on land are difficult to deal with in the foreclosure process. But the town clerk has been active in, dare I say, trying to reach out to people and getting people to pay and so forth, and this is where we're at.
What's everybody's feeling on that? I don't think we want to get into the mobile home business.
Selectman Jackson agrees with Chairman.
So, I don't wanna be in the mobile home business either, but you have several pieces of property on here that are facing the same situation, that they're behind on their taxes, they have liens on their property, they're facing foreclosure potentially. And I don't know how you say with a straight face that we're gonna foreclose on your property because it's worth more than all these other people's property that are doing the same thing. So at some point, you have to do something about the properties that aren't paying their taxes, even though they're in the trailer park and they're not worth much money, and it might cost us a little bit of money to clear it out. But you're picking winners and losers, and it's not fair to the other people. We have to do something. We can't just keep ignoring it and pushing it down the road. That's my opinion.
So when we foreclosed, we assume the liability, we have to insure it and all of that good stuff, because it's then ours. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is, even though that might be the better way to go, because we don't have any liability, because we're gonna have to insure it and all that. But the problem becomes, these individuals, there's no incentive for them to pay their taxes either. If they know it's not gonna foreclose, then they're just gonna continue to let their taxes go delinquent. So that creates a problem too. You definitely don't wanna foreclose on a property that's gonna be a liability to you. That's the reason that you do this. But there are in the past couple of years since we've been doing this, there's only been a handful, and now there is this many. So, I see Dana's point too, but I also don't see an incentive for anybody paying their tax.
So, and to elaborate on that, you start with a handful, and then the word spreads. My neighbor in the next lot over, well, they're not gonna take my property, so I'm not gonna pay my taxes either. Now you're gonna have a whole trailer park full of trailers that aren't paying their taxes, and nothing you're gonna do about it.
Yes, Scott?
Did we talk to the trailer park and see if they would continue with what they've done in the past and buy the trailers after we foreclose?
Well, so the town clerk's actually been working on some things along those lines and spoken to the town attorney about some solutions that she wants to share.
Yeah, so I have tried to reach out to Candace, haven't had that conversation yet. Candace is the new manager foreclosure at the, mobile home park. And I have, had a conversation with the town attorney. He does tend to agree along the lines that, foreclosing on mobile homes that are not on property does create a, financial, liability and, other issues for the town to own those, especially when they're in the, mobile home park. But he did suggest that, in the past, when those notices have been sent out that their home, or their mobile home would not be foreclosed on, it was just a straight statement. And instead, he said, to include language that the town is not, giving up their rights to the properties per se, and they will retain their rights to pursue the ability to, recoup the taxes, so small claims court. And including that in that notice to the individuals that we may not be taking your, mobile home through foreclosure, but we do retain the right to go through small claims court to, recoup the taxes. And he thinks that that might help. We would just have to look at some of the numbers, because it has to meet the threshold for small claims court.
I would not want to get involved with small claims court. It can be very costly if you have to take anything like this to small claims court. And I would avoid using that as an option, just based on past experience. We either foreclose or we don't.
And to be clear, just because we waive foreclosure, doesn't mean the taxes go away, they're still
Right.
owed. So,
But the incentive for them to pay, there's none.
at some point, you can't just keep waiving and waiving and waiving.
Right.
At some point, the town is gonna have to take action.
I'm seeing 8 properties that were waived. The foreclosure was waived last year.
Yeah,
On the same list.
Have any of those properties paid any of those taxes? Have they paid any of this year's taxes? And now we have 20 properties on this list. See what I'm getting at? If you start with 8, we're at 20, next year there'll be 30. And the year after that, and the year after that.
Yes, Goldie?
is there a chance that the mechanics liens is those off against the trailer park?
The mechanics liens against the I don't believe so. I can ask, but I don't believe so. Because the trailer park doesn't actually have ownership of said trailers.
But they are charging the rent, and they're paying their rent, right?
Right, they pay rent of the trailer park, yep.
If they don't pay their rent, they'll get evicted.
Yep.
If they don't pay their taxes, we don't do anything.
I'm just trying to say, to keep the trailer park responsible for the keeping the
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I don't believe that there's a way to hold the trailer park accountable, as long as they're, yeah, as the clerk just said, as long as they're paying their taxes. But, I certainly can ask more, but I don't believe that's an avenue we can go from past
So,
experience.
We're not talking about, $4,000 or $5,000 tax bills on these pieces of property. I'm seeing $700, $160, $500, $300. I think the people, the ones that we waived last year, we need to take a stand this year. And if you want to give them the first year, we'll waive it for a year, but we've got to do something. And maybe they pay their taxes when they think they're gonna get foreclosed on. Or at least attempt to pay their taxes and start to make a payment arrangement to catch back up.
Not a motion?
Well, we've got a lot of them to look at, so.
So I know that it's not recommended payment arrangements, but they do work, even though MMA doesn't recommend it. But the other thing in doing this, these individuals that are on this list, have any of them been told about poverty abatements that they can apply for? Maybe some, I don't know if they do, but do any of these qualify for poverty abatement? We wouldn't know that unless they were given an application or they were told that they could come in and try to get a poverty abatement. Of course, that would end up having to be, the application would have to be, they would have to come in and do that, and then it ultimately is approved, yes or no by the Board of Selectmen, and that's all a confidential process. So that's another option. But some of these might also be able to be paid if you do a payment arrangement for 1 year with them.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
You have building values and exemptions. These exemptions aren't the homestead exemption, correct? They are?
Some of them do and some of them don't have a homestead.
The homestead exemption's 23,500?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they, it's 25, but
It may have been
yeah,
24
that year,
that year.
that year we were at 100%, so.
So, and again, I'm seeing less than half of them have homestead exemptions, so I can't believe they're second properties that they own unless they're owning them and renting them out.
Right, and that's something that is often homeowners are made aware of, that you can apply for a homestead exemption, excuse me. But we can't force them to fill out the paper, and if they don't fill out the application,
They don't get it.
they don't get it.
We can force them to pay their taxes. So I'll make that motion. If any of these properties that have been waived the last year, we move forward into the foreclosure process. So the 8 properties that are listed as waived foreclosure.
So if it means taking the trailer, you want to do it.
Unless somebody's got a better idea to try to hold them accountable. It's not fair to, all your
I'm not arguing, Dana, about being fair. I'm not arguing that at all.
I don't want to take anybody's property. But these, I gotta pay my taxes, you gotta pay your taxes, all these folks out here need to pay their taxes. And
I get it.
whether it's $200 or $2,000 or $5,000. So times are tough, I get it. If these people come forward and try to work with us, I think everybody here will be happy to work with them. But if they're just not showing up and they're not doing anything to try to rectify this, then we have to do something.
Could we send them a letter saying that we'd like them to come in and make some arrangements on this, or we're going to do it, or you want to just go for the
I
letter
think
now?
that's part of the foreclosure process, isn't it? You're gonna be notified, we're gonna foreclose unless you pay your taxes.
I'm happy to address that if the town manager.
Yeah, go
Yes, the
ahead.
foreclosure
So
notice
first of
been
all,
sent.
your language, on poverty abatement, that language is included in every notice that goes out.
Yes, I know that.
And letting them know that they can come in and do that.
Yeah.
As far as homestead exemptions, myself and the assessor have been reaching out to them, letting them know if you file for your homestead exemptions, most of these mobile homes are gonna be, your tax liability be wiped out because of the value of the home. It's exactly.
Moving forward.
Yes, moving forward, but it's
Right.
exactly what the town manager has said. We can't force them to come in, and quite a few haven't bothered to come in and they don't want to fill out the paperwork. Right now, because there were some issues with what was going on with our liens, all of those properties, have gone past the 18-month redemption period. So tomorrow, I need to either send the 30-day notice or foreclosure, a waiver of foreclosure, which has to be done if you're gonna do a waiver, have to do that first. And there are some that the liens were not cited correctly, so that actually gives those individuals an additional 3 months added to the redemption period. And so you'll see some of those on there, that it's not any of them that are in the mobile home park.
Well, that's
So
good to know that.
it is something that I need direction on this evening from the board, so I can move forward to tomorrow.
And has the lawyer advised you on?
Yes.
Because of the ineffectiveness of all these liens, basically is what the problem is.
There's been quite a conversation going on about this.
And that was the suggestion of using the language for small things for, not necessarily having to go that route, but letting individuals know that there are other avenues unless you wanna come in and make, some sort of arrangements to take care of your back taxes.
Again, I realize you, now, when you send that, that's how it goes out registered mail too, correct?
It's required to go out registered mail, yes, which adds on
It's
additional
certified
fees.
receipt request
Yeah.
is what it is.
The only thing that scares me is if you get a whole bunch of them and we do foreclose on them, the trailer park says, come get them out of here. I'm not sure that what little we're losing here will pay to go get them out of there. I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it.
Well, then we're also liable to a lot, right? Correct.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And to be, and from a practical standpoint, that's where I'm coming from, is that's my concern, is that, if we take possession of these structures, then,
We own
Well, but I thought that's why in the past we've been, maybe running this before, where we have talked to the trailer park and see if they're willing to, if we do foreclose on that, if they buy them.
well, it's not that simple anymore, because of the change in the foreclosure law.
And the law.
Yep. We have to go through, yeah, because otherwise, Mr. Hunter, that's 100% a great idea, but the change in the law has made it challenging.
Very challenging.
Well, so you haven't had any conversation with the person at the trailer park, Kathleen?
Not as of yet.
Not as of yet. Can we at least give that a shot before we just jump right into this deep?
So what's your date, Kathleen, to mail the foreclosure?
It was, January 1st.
And
Now you are looking at,
April 7th or June 9th.
yeah, that would be the
that's
foreclosure.
your window now?
Yeah, so were you asked what the foreclosure date was?
Yeah.
You took, ownership technically on February 18th.
But you can send a foreclosure notice now, and you have a window of April in April, right?
So, on the individuals that just did not receive the, 45 to 30-day notice, it adds an additional 30 days to their, to the 18-month period. On the ones where I actually have to file a corrective lien,
Yeah.
that adds a 3 months.
And I'm assuming none of these have mortgage holders.
Not on the mobile homes, no.
So, I agree with the clerk. I think that we need to make some sort of decision because, let me put it this way. No decision tonight means foreclosure notices to everything on this list. Would you agree with that? So,
So if you send the foreclosure notice,
mhm.
do we have the ability to, at some point, not foreclose?
No. Once that notice goes out, that's it.
So do you have the ability to send them a notice that we're gonna give them 90 days before we wanna foreclose?
No.
No? This must be state
Hands
law.
are kind of tied here.
Must be state law.
Right, so some of the things that are being referenced is for instance, if you lien and you forget one of the owners of record or something like that, simple things like that will invalidate, that's why we're having to do corrective liens and so forth. So, that's why we have this window, if you will. But we need to get these things taken care of.
So what I'm gonna recommend is probably against what some of us want to do, but now that I know about the situation with the liens and where we are, our hands are really tied as to what can be done. So I think, and I'm not talking because I don't know what I'm talking about. I've been involved in this for 25 years, so what Kathleen is saying is accurate, but her adding the piece about the liens brings it to light that there is a problem. That problem, I'm sure, has to be corrected so that this doesn't happen again. And But I think that in light of this, that we need to waive these foreclosures. I would recommend letters going out to every single property owner, giving them a deadline of when they have to meet with you, and put them all on some type of payment plan. And see, the individuals whose property is less than, the value is less than what the homestead exemption is, they're never gonna have a tax bill again because it's gonna wipe out the value. There's gonna be no assessed value for them to have a tax bill on. Somebody needs to draft a letter in very simple terms explaining that. Maybe you've done that, or maybe it was done in the past, I don't know. But that problem can go away just by them filling out that homestead exemption. It will be effective for next year's taxes, but that form would have to be in here by April 1st to be effective for next year's taxes. I know you both know this, but I don't know, what other people know. But you've got to take some measures so that there's a timetable put on a big board as to when the liens have to go out and making sure that all of this is done. I'm not preaching or.
It's
but-
already been done.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've already had that conversation, yes.
Okay. But yes, I think under the circumstances that we don't have an option.
So is that for the mobile homes only, or is that all of them?
I would say all of the mobile homes, all of the ones, yes, because they're all in this position that, we're gonna be liable.
Go ahead.
number one.
We have a motion on
Yeah.
the floor, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if it was seconded or not, but
It was not.
No, Dana's
I didn't
has to
think
be
it was.
taken care of first.
Okay, so your motion,
my motion was to, everybody that's already been waived once, we start the foreclosure process.
and do we hear it seconded?
Second.
Second.
Does he know what the motion was? Because he was not in support of this.
He can hear you.
Okay.
You understand the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
See
All right.
how it's
All those in favor, and that would be foreclosing on these
The ones that have been waived once
that
before.
have been waived once before. All those in favor? All those opposed? I can't see how call we vote.
He voted in
Three of you
favor,
hear
the
that.
vote is 2-3, motion fails.
Okay. And we still got the problem.
Suggest, yeah. I'm gonna make another motion.
It's, your hands are tied,
I
man. What do you
understand
do
that.
with it?
And I'll say one more thing. You had 8 last year, you got 20 this year. Dollars to donuts, you'll have 30 next year if you don't do something now.
And you probably will, but next year, the lien process will hope to have been, all the liens will be effective liens next year. So that will be a different situation. I'll make a motion that we waive the foreclosure on the list presented, the entire list.
The yellow.
Yeah.
Only the highlighted ones.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are on rented lots, correct? All the highlighted are rented lots.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Opposed?
All opposed?
Opposed?
Yeah, one,
No, 2.
two, excuse me. Okay, 5-7, employee handbook.
All right, so it's been a little bit of time, but we've been working on the employee handbook. And at the last meeting that we discussed this, which was I think on the 16th of January, there was some concerns voiced regarding FMLA language. There was concern about how we were discussing changing the vacation, how it's earned by employees, whereas it's earned all at once right now. And this is contemplating having them earn it on a month-to-month basis. There's also discussion about Easter holiday for the transfer station. And then recently there was some comments sent to me via email about the COLA and how raises are handled. So, real quick, I'm not gonna run through the whole thing because we've been through a lot of this already, but if you look on page 21 of the proposed handbook, that's where the new FMLA language has been added. I spoke to the town attorney, I expressed Mr. Hunter's concerns about it being too brief, if you will, and the attorney's suggestion was the language you see in there, which is much more extensive and goes into a lot more detail. So, also I have provided a sample regarding the vacation time piece in here. I made up some names for employees, or I should say, these are based on real employees, but the names has been changed to protect the innocent, if you will. So, one of the concerns was that if an employee, if we make this change and they're provided their vacation time, and they go over the allotted amount that they're allowed to have, I think the simple solution here is, I think we give them 6 months to be able to get back, into compliance. I don't really want to make it any more complicated than that. There's only, as of, now I drafted this so it would be effective March 1st, so obviously we'd be looking at April 1st, but at that time, there was only 3 current employees that would exceed.
Fall in there.
Yeah, so, I would feel quite comfortable with just allowing them to have 6 months to make up the difference, so. But then, as far as the COLA piece, there was concern in the language change from the old policy to the new policy, and Sharon, do you want me to speak to that, or do you want me to?
Okay.
So, in the old policy, it states that the COLA will be set by the Board of Selectmen, and then it also speaks to merit raises, so through the budget process. So, in the new manual, it speaks to COLA being set in the budget process versus by the selectmen, I think is the language we're discussing. So I will be quite frank, when Sharon brought that to me, I don't really have heartburn either way. So if the Board of Selectmen feels that it should specifically say that COLA will be set by the Board of Selectmen prior to the budget process, then I'm happy to do that. It is this cycle, as I did in last cycle, the previous cycles of the budget, I have looked at what the COLA number was and made a COLA recommendation and included it in my budget proposal. But this approach that we're discussing would actually mean that, like the meeting before we have our first budget meeting, I would
We'd
come to
set
the
the
board.
COLA.
You would set the COLA at what have you, so.
In the past, that's how it's been done, and that has been that way in the personnel policy. The manager brings his or her recommendation to the board for the COLA increase, and then the board approves that. Then the manager knows the amount that can be used in the budget when doing the payroll. I don't have any problem with the merit raise part of that. The way it's proposed now, it talks about the COLA being approved during the budget process, which what that does is it eliminates the Board of Selectmen from voting on what the COLA is, and the manager is able to put the budget together. So as an example, this year the COLA is 2.5%. Adam is recommending 3%, which I would have supported that anyway. But you could have a manager that says, well, I want to put 5% in without getting the board's approval. The board, I believe, needs to set the COLA.
If that said that the board set the COLA, would you be satisfied with everything else?
I would.
Do I hear a motion?
On that, just.
Right, I mean, she's basically saying that the board would set the COLA. Other than that, the other word we get in there, we've beat enough, we're good?
I'll make that.
I make a motion.
All right, and one of you second it?
What's your motion?
That we accept what Sharon just said about the COLA budget.
Board would set the COLA, and, okay, you second that, Scott?
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor? Done.
you want a motion for the rest of the personnel policy?
If you folks are ready.
Entirety?
I just have one thing. In the vacation, something else prompted me to look at some of these things, that's why I'm being a pain on this. It shows in this, because we changed the way that in the vacation time is earned now. In this policy, it's showing that the employees can carry over 4 hours, 40 hours, right? Wasn't it always in the past, and I couldn't find my current policy, but weren't they allowed before to carry over 80 hours?
I believe it's always been 40. But I have the other policy right here, I can double check so I don't speak with forked tongue. Need a Jeopardy music to play while I'm doing this, huh?
You bring that with me.
You could hum it for
Hum
me.
it for me?
Yeah. Okay, vacation. Vacation shall be credited. Of course, it can't be that simple. Employees can carry 1 week of vacation time in the following year, so 1 week, 40 hours.
Okay.
Or in the case of, well, the union employees. Yep, so 1 week, 40 hours. So sticking to the same 40 hour, as I mentioned before and other things, I like hours rather than days and
Yeah.
weeks because, for clarity purposes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion now?
I would-
Do I hear a second? Scott?
Yeah, I just need to go back to, because I didn't like this since day when we proposed it, but under 312, section D, I'd like to go back to the old language. That's the, no person shall hold can't be selectman, can't be on the budget committee, can't be on the planning board, can't be on the appeals board. If you're an employee of the town, if you do take any of those appointments or you're elected selectman, you have to resign your position with the town. I'm sorry, I don't agree with it, and I will not be in favor of it. So I think you're taking away from the townspeople's choice. They're the ones that elect you as far as the selectman's position. Just because you want to serve on the planning board or the appeals board, and you happen to work for the transfer station, I don't think that should rule you out. There was language in there from MMA on the last one that said if there was, was it incompatible differences or whatever it was, we have boundaries, and I think we should stay with that. I don't think you should force somebody to, because they want to be on the board or run for selectman, that you have to give a good job for the town, and I'm sorry.
I thought there was a legality thing that we had in there before, no?
It's not.
It's not.
I would disagree. I'll use the example of the county. You cannot be a elected county commissioner and be an employee of the county. And you can't be an elected state representative, state senator, and have certain positions in state government. There's lots of levels of responsibility and things you can do based on your elected position. There's no way you're not going to get around conflicts if you're elected to the select board and you're a town employee. I don't think it's necessary for the planning board. I don't think we should exclude town employees or planning board or any other committee. Budget committee, select board, they should not be town employees.
this is a preference of every town, because not all, none of these is state law. And it's up to the governing boards to decide who can be an employee and who can be on a committee. I do not believe that an employee should be on the Board of Selectmen. That I feel strongly about. But I have budget committee members and planning board members and appeals board members who are town employees. That's just how the town I am does this. But if they're on the budget committee and they're an employee and it's their department, especially if it's a department head that's on a budget committee and also a department head, then that department head cannot vote on anything on that budget. The only one I would really have an opinion on that the employee should not be a member of here would be the Board of Selectmen. Because I don't think employees should be selectmen. And I think that might have been the case before. It wasn't. But I don't see any reason why an employee should not have the ability to be on the appeals board, the planning board, or the budget committee for that matter.
Legally, we can do that?
I mean,
Yes.
if I may, so obviously, and Sharon can attest to this too, as a town manager, the preference certainly would be to not have a selectman also be an employee. It gets murky.
Yeah.
So, with that being said about the selectman's position, but the other thing is too, is if you have a selectman who is also an employee or a budget committee member, you can recommend that they don't vote on their particular budget, but I don't believe we have a mechanism to force them to not vote on those items. And so that makes it challenging.
That's
as
the
well.
gray area.
Right. So, but to bring this full circle, we can modify in whatever way the board wants here. That's why it's in the policy for this discussion. If the result of that is to remove all of that, then that's what will be done. If the result is to leave selectmen or just leave budget, whatever direction you folks want to go.
I can agree with Sharon, and the only reason I'll agree with that about the budget committee is because this board appoints people to the budget committee, so if they're an employee, they want to be on the budget committee, it has to come in front of this board, and this board will decide whether they serve on the budget committee or not.
And that's a very good point to make.
But I'm adamant not on the select board.
And I
Okay, did you make a motion?
Okay.
I
Dan?
think Sharon's.
You have
Colby.
Selectman C. Jackson would like to speak.
Colby?
We just think the way it is, why do we keep changing it? I mean, we've been beating this handbook around for 3 months, 4 months now. And every time we come back, they have to keep changing the policy, changing it. I think we should just pass it the way it is and get it done with.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second? I'll second it.
The way it is no boards.
Correct.
The way you have it written here now.
Right. Yep. No selectmen, no budget committee, no planning board, no appeal. So-
Queen?
You have a motion and a second?
All those in favor? Feel this is gonna go 2/3. Okay, that didn't work. Do I hear another motion?
I'd make the motion that the town employees are not allowed to serve on the select board. They're elected to the select board, they must resign their position. All the other boards, I'm good with.
Do I hear a second?
second.
Do I hear any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Good.
It was a 3-2 vote on that motion.
What's that?
It was a 3-2 vote on the motion.
4. Pass.
3-2.
Thank you. Move a little slow.
You good with this?
Yep.
All right. Department head report. Rec department, Tyler.
All right, so we have the rec director here with us tonight. We had some discussions last time. Yes, let me get my business together and I'll be with you. All right, so there was some information that was requested. You also see in your packets you've got last year's rec program, the last one we just completed, the revenues, the expenses. That revenue shows you also what was appropriated at town meeting, the $11,000. So you have that report in front of you. It appears, according to our records, that we netted about $15,000 last year, which is a good thing. And then also there was a request for information regarding the employee or positions. You've got that, the employee positions in there and payroll. You've also got other towns. I think it was Dana, you had asked for other towns and enrollment and so forth, so you've got that in front of you and what some of the rates are. And then your projected amount for the this coming summer rec and the cost there. So one of the things that was discussed during the last time was payroll for the counselors, and in bringing that to first year counselor would be $15, second year counselor would be $15.50, and the third year counselor would be $16 an hour. So there's some progression there. So that's what we've discussed for rates. And then you see up there the projected payroll is 67, expenses 14, brings the total expenses to 81. Then with registrations and what's projected for the snack shack revenue for during summer rec, it brings us a $10,700 difference, which brings me back to the $11,000 like we raised and appropriated last year. That is what I've included in the budget. So, as a request for town meeting. So I don't know if you want Kayla to speak to any of this or not, but.
So is there any fee increases this year?
No.
None at all for anybody?
Leave it at the same, and I think maybe what we need to do is when it's not summer rec season and not this season, maybe we all need to have a conversation about
Workshop on it.
all these fees, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When we're not under the gun, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So I believe we provided what you folks were asking for.
I hear a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept this.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No, I'll save that for our later, when we talk about this again.
Then the budget.
I do think we need to approach some of these towns that don't have rec programs that have, there's not that many in any one town, so it's hard to go to Horsfield or South Paris or towns that don't have rec programs and ask them if they want to assist in their residents' registrations and help with the cost, because we're augmenting with Oxford tax dollars. I know it's only $11,000, so we're making progress. But we're augmenting for 9 other towns and 30, I saw it somewhere, but 30 kids from other towns to pay for this program. It's on the right path.
That being said, all those in favor?
Can I just add something?
Yes, yes.
Are you aware that we did that at one time?
Oh, I wouldn't doubt that we
We
could
used to
ask
go
10
together.
towns and get told
Yeah,
no 10
we-
times, but
Years ago, that's how we accounted for this. We went to other towns who had kids participating in our summer rec programs, and their towns contributed a portion based on the percentage of the kids in their towns.
so the reason I say that is because when we come back next year and we're looking for another $10,000 to $12,000 from Oxford taxpayers, my first inclination is we're gonna eliminate some of these other towns. And we're gonna fund our own summer program and we're gonna pay for it. But we're not gonna pay for it for all these other kids from all the other towns that aren't Oxford taxpayers.
Okay, that being said, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed?
Against?
Okay,
For? Okay.
we're good. 6.2, transfer station, front end loader discussion.
All right, so this front end loader over the transfer station. We've got, this front end loader's been discussed a few times. The current front end loader over at the transfer station is the John Deere 544K, which was over at the highway department. It's now over at the transfer station. The short version of this is that we had that workshop about capital improvements at the last meeting. I had included in there, I think it was $158,000 for the purchase of the loader at the transfer station for discussion purposes. We had a discussion. I walked away from that more under the understanding that a lease purchase option would be more, acceptable, if you will. So the budget proposal you're about to see for capital does include a lease purchase for this at $50,000 a year based on the rates that Ed was provided a little bit ago for lease purchase options from John Deere. So where we're at tonight is we need to figure out how we want to proceed with this loader. Do we want to have any discussions on this loader right now? Do you want us to go through the budget cycle? How would you like to move
I
forward?
think we ought to have some discussion on it. We discussed this less than 6 months ago, and we agreed on what we were going to do. And I don't think there's been any drastic changes, and I haven't heard of anybody coming to me wanting to pay more taxes this year. Do we need to go into this again? I'm listening. Yeah.
Ed's here, I would like Ed to tell us everything that loader is used for, because what I've heard in at least the last meeting, if not other meetings, that loader is not used for a lot of different purposes. I would tend to disagree with that, so I would like him to tell us everything that loader is used for on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis. And then I also asked for the cost of all the maintenance that we have paid for since that highway loader is at the transfer station. Because I believe that when you have an older vehicle, piece of equipment, appliance, once it gets to a certain age, the maintenance you put in it is going down the toilet. So I would like Ed to tell us what that loader is used for, and then we can decide.
I got a list here all made out, I'm gonna read it off. That's what you want me to do. I think the last time I was here, they said that there was a vote and that was told that to put it in the budget, so that's why it's here again.
Nice.
The first thing on the thing is the brush pile. Taking into the brush, it's on the ground, it's gonna be pushed up in the air, and we have a certain area where now we have a contract with Norway Paris. We have brush coming in, and it's gonna be piled up, and every 3 to 4 months, when the chipper comes in and chips it, we make money on that. We never made money on it before. They give us $1 a ton for every ton that goes out. Plus, we're getting $2,500 from Norway Paris, we're gonna take the brush in. The leaf pile, we have a leaf pile that all your residents bring in all their leaves. That has to be churned every time so it don't catch on fire. It builds up heat really bad. So that has to be churned, and then when it comes time to get rid of it, get the highway department around, we load all the trucks, and we haul it over to Richardson's and East Oxford. And get rid of it, there's no cost. But we need tractors to do it. The demolition and the recovery pile. The demolition is everything it's bringing in. It costs us $175 a ton to get rid of it. We're taking in $200 a ton. So everything that gets dumped on that ground, my guy goes down and picks out the cardboard, picks out the metal, and all goes into certain places where we're making money on that. If we didn't have that, it's all going to be loaded in this dumpster. And I know that there's been talk about, backing up and putting stuff in dumpsters and all this, and that ain't gonna work. I'm sorry. We're gonna lose money anyway.
Why do all the other towns do it?
Which towns do it?
have these little ramps where you back up and dump your stuff?
No, guess they're not making as much money as we are.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
oh, okay.
The metal bin. The tractor sets up there every day, and people put their metal in the bucket, and we get down and put it in our can. We have a 30-gallon can that we put it in, pushes it all down. We sell that to Grimmels. That made us, right now, as of, I think I wrote on that paper, I give you, it was $14,871 that we've taken in the metal that the townspeople have brought into us. At no cost to the town, because they don't charge us to haul the dump stuff. None of that stuff. That's all money that the townspeople have brought back to us. And then you've got the trash trailer. When it comes out, you have to close the door in the back of the trash trailer. The trash falls on the ground. You're gonna clean it all up. And you're gonna use that tractor to push that door closed, because they just don't close the trash time out. Then it comes to plowing and lawn maintenance and all that type of stuff. The plowing, it takes us almost 3 hours to plow what we got right now. And this tractor, let's see, it broke down 2 storms ago. We sat there, put it sitting on the hill, couldn't even go nowhere. The tires keep going flat on it. We've worked on this with Jules. We went out and bought a brand new compressor just to blow these tires up once a week. They go down 30 pounds on every tire. And Jules is saying that, you know, it could be this, it could be that. The highway department's come down in the middle of the storm and taken our tractor because they've had flat tires on the new tractor. I mean, it's used a lot. I'm just thinking that maybe it's time that the transfer station, you know, has a new one and we can take care of it and make sure it runs right and be proud of it. You know, it's nice to have something new once in a while that we can take care of. You know, and I mean, at least first, you just took the money from the demolition for the metal and put that in the account, you're gonna not even take no tax dollars. That's my concern, and I give it all to you.
And how much money have we spent on the old tractor that we're using now that was the highway department's tractor? What have we spent on maintenance since we've been using that tractor at the transfer station?
That is $7,005.
Yep, you got it, Dan. So what I've included in here just for discussion purposes is, so I did a quick spreadsheet, about $7,005 is what's been spent. I also included in here a copy of the Trio current account status report, so you guys can have that, so you can see, because remember we took the proceeds from the Volvo and we were taking it from there, so you can see that that's happening. And also, I didn't know what the interest level would be, so I included copies of all the invoices in here. But I have also included, Ed provided me with their inspection logs that they do on the tractor too, so that you can see that it's actually, it's being they're inspecting it and so forth too. And then finally, I included a copy of the inspection that was done before it transferred over to the transfer station by Steve Tucci, the gentleman that evaluated the machines for us.
So I think it makes perfect sense to budget the lease purchase amount in the capital budget and replace this loader now. Sell this for what you can get for it and take the remaining balance here. We're still going to have to probably make maintenance to it, I would guess, before the end of June when this budget runs out. And we have $17,000 to use there. But I think it makes sense to budget the $50,000 for the lease payment purchase. And then we don't have to deal with the maintenance of this old loader anymore. This should have been done a couple of years ago. What's that? That's a motion, if you want me to make it, yes?
That is a motion?
Yes.
Yeah, do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So, I want to be clear here, we're gonna, I want this to be part of the budget process. I think it's important that it's part of the budget process. I will support it going forward in the budget process to the budget committee, to this board, and then decide if it's gonna go forward with a recommendation to purchase recommendation to lease purchase or a recommendation to purchase it outright, because I think it's important that we.
No, I agree with that.
He's totally saying something? What he said?
You know, I was wondering if we could get with the taxpayers of the town of Oxford said to us this last year about the tax increases. And now it just seems like we're just going to go back on the tax expenditure. I don't agree with this.
Colin didn't agree with it. I don't agree with it. The loader we got, it is an older loader, we're not arguing that. The man that get it, he didn't want it down there from the beginning, before he ever got it. He's got it, and it's been nothing but, he doesn't care for it now. So I guess if everybody feels that we should buy him one because he wants a new one, then maybe that's what we should be doing.
That's not what I said, but.
That's not what I said either, and I don't think he's saying that we should buy one because he wants one. He has made every effort to explain why that loader doesn't work, and it doesn't work. It keeps shutting down because the tires keep going down. They've had to buy a compressor. We've had to spend, the reason that the highway department needed a new loader was because that one didn't produce, and this one doesn't either. If you have a refrigerator at your house and it's 20 years old, are you gonna spend over half of the cost to buy a new, to maintenance on it? You're gonna buy a new one. We need to provide safe equipment and vehicles for our employees to use so that it's not taking them twice as long to do what they need to do because we have equipment that doesn't work right. That needs to be in the budget as far as I'm concerned, in the capital budget that will go to the process of the budget committee and select board, who will decide, like Dana said, if it's going to be a lease purchase or if they want to budget for a lease purchase or for a new one and get voted on that way. If it's in the budget, then it goes to the townspeople to vote on it. But I think that this department head has made every, has given every reason why this loader isn't working there. And I'm not for putting good money into this machine anymore because it's a waste of money.
Okay?
Scott?
Who would say that?
Scott was.
So, as you said, we started on this like at least 2 years ago. I wasn't in favor of moving the old highway loader down there then, and I'm not now. I feel that we have, like I said, when we first talked about this, if we had cut down the amount of time that that loader was at highway department, if that's what we want to do is hand it down to the next department, then we need to stop and think about the condition where it is before it gets handed down. I think we have just passed a maintenance issue onto another department, and I agree with Sharon. Ed has advocated for this a long time. I agree. I have equipment, and it just gets to the point where you're just gonna keep pouring money in there. I get it that it will cost money, but I think when we get to the point of they get a new loader, I don't think we're gonna see a replacement like we do at the highway garage. So I say that I would dare bet that they'd probably be able to keep their loader probably 8-10 years. So
Warranties, 3
yeah.
years.
I don't think it's 20 out of it. I don't think it's 20 out of it.
I'm just saying that I think if the transfer station had a loader that will new to them, I think it would last longer than us doing this hand down thing and all you're doing is passing maintenance costs on to another department, so.
Question.
Go ahead.
This list of repairs on the loader, what, is there a timeline on that from when we first,
Is there a timeline on it?
like, is that the last 6 months? I don't remember exactly when we moved the loader down there. What-
So, since we moved it down there, and you can
So
see,
is that over a year period, 6 month period?
August of last year.
Is it the yellow highlights?
Yes, ma'am, yeah, so you can see,
This list, huh?
we sold the Volvo on 10/7, that's when we took the money in from that, and that's when you see everything start, because that's when the transfer station ended up with the John Deere. So you see the first repairs on, 10/17.
Well, when it went down. it
So we're
really
talking about
is,
5 months, we spent over $7,000. I think that's,
There's a list there of all the stuff that needs to be still done too, so.
Yep.
There's definitely $2,200 to fix the engine and about that.
I don't have anything else.
Nope, you should,
I'm just wondering, can they take like the money from the metal container and put that in a separate account? As far as the maintenance or what? The town has no money invested in it whatsoever. They don't pay to have it hauled, they don't do nothing. County comes and takes it, pays us a check. Can that be put in a separate account somewhere?
I
Or
don't think
equipment
so.
account or something like that?
No, I don't think so. What you do
Well, I
is,
think you can, but how much money are you talking?
Well, it's 18,000 right now,
So
it's been another 4 or 5 months, so. If you build that up.
20,000 a year? That means in 7 years, you're gonna get a new loader.
No, I don't want, just saying.
Don't talk yourself out of it.
The one up in the recycling in 2011, I mean, we're just not putting money in that one, so I just had to put a water pump in it.
I don't have anything else, I don't know if
the
anybody-
list that Ed's referring to is
Yep.
towards the back, yep.
Okey dokey.
Can I clarify, the motion?
Yes, so
that
she would.
Is, let me gotta find it here. Your motion is to approve, inserting the proposal for a lease purchase of $50,000 for the loader into the capital budget.
No, I think basically it was gonna let the taxpayers on the budget committee have it.
Well, that's putting it
that's
into the
how
budget
Putting it in the
proposal.
budget
Alright.
Go
proposal.
through the budget
Yeah.
process.
Okay.
Is that what the motion was, correct? Okay, we get a second on it. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposed, 3-2.
Thank you, guys, appreciate the support.
All right.
All right, I think this is down to the budget committee.
All right, so now the moment everybody's been waiting for, your favorite time of year. It's like town manager Christmas. So we're gonna be passing out the budget books. So when you look at this, please give me a moment to touch on a few things before you have any heart attack, palpitations, or otherwise. All right? Yes, of course. Oh. Heather put these in here. She really packed it, didn't she?
It's not always this time.
Need one more? All right, so on the first page, you will find that that's where the breakdown is, the overall summary page. It encompasses everything. So there's a handful of things that I'd like to throw at you folks. I won't take too long because I know it's getting late. So the first thing you probably care about is, so all of department operations, not capital, but department operations alone, there's a proposed $425,000 increase. I'll get into why. Capital, in this proposal here, there's a $486,000 decrease from last year. So overall, at that setting, you're seeing a decrease of $61,000. So when you look at
Can you say that again? Just that last part,
a decrease of 61,000, yep. So
just making sure.
if you, just as a quick 30,000 foot overview, general government, which is administration and so forth, there's a $59,000 increase. The reason for that, payroll, health insurance, and some building maintenance. General, I'm being very general. The police, you see a $37,000 increase. Again, payroll, health insurance, retirement, those are personnel costs. The highway department, now I'm gonna hit pause for a second. We mentioned earlier about COLA. I had used a 3% COLA as a placeholder in here, even for unions, because we're in the middle of union negotiations as well. So for the highway department, part of that is also payroll and benefits, but also an increase in salt and sand prices for this year as well. Fire rescue, this is status quo, staying with exactly what we have now, and it is $52,900. Again, it's mostly in payroll. Public safety buildings, you see a $6,000 increase on that, and that's due to building maintenance. Recreation, you see a $31,000 increase. Again, that is payroll oriented, health insurance oriented, and a couple other incidentals. General assistance, you do see a $5,000 decrease, and how we calculate that is that's based on the number of people that come in, the state reimbursement rate, and so forth. So, the transfer station, you see a $52,000 increase. That increase is, again, just like the other ones, payroll and so forth, but also the disposal of the bulky waste and demolition and those things is where you see those costs come up. Currently, FYI, we are out to bid on the hauling bids, and that's who hauls the material from the transfer station to where we dispose of it, mid-main waste. The sewer department sees a $32,000 increase. It's the same idea. It's also the cost of chemicals are part of that equation as well. Municipal is where you find all of those things that don't really have a home. Like the liability insurance for the town, you see $11,000 increase there. That's made up of a few things like electricity for lights is part of that, but also the proposed or projected increase in our liability insurance is part of that as well. Also, third-party requests fall under municipal in there as well. Debt service, you see a $91,000 increase on that. We'll talk more when we get there, but part of that $91,000 is that placeholder for $50,000 for the loader we just discussed a few minutes ago. Also, you will see, because we had more TIF revenue this last year, that I'm proposing that we reduce the amount of money that we're actually setting aside to pay the sewer and water line bonds, because the TIFs are able to actually cover almost the entire thing. So that's a good thing as well. So again, the municipal total, $6.7 million. That's a $425,000 increase. Capital. So capital is where I would like to kind of get into not the weeds, but just a little bit further. So what you see here is $523,000 in capital, and that's a $486,000 decrease from last year. You'll see in your book, every department has its own tab. You also have a copy of the roster, but every single department has its own capital tab as well. But in the front of the book, when you see right just after calendar, you're going to find capital. That capital list is a list of all of the capital requests for this year. I've color-coded them, and I'll explain why. So all of the items that you see, that's the 523,000 number we spoke of already. I think one of the things that I would like to have a discussion about, and this is more of a selectman decision, but everything that you see highlighted in blue, I think we should have a conversation and think about maybe funding those things from the fund balance policy account rather than going back to town meeting and asking there. Obviously, I now need to update the police cruiser purchase piece, so that can be reduced. I do think we're going to need to leave some money in there to outfit the car. So, Chief, like 15,000, is that?
Closer to 18.
So 20,000. I mean, so that'll be an adjustment as well. So I think that's something that we should consider. If you decided that you wanted to take all these items that I have included in here that are in blue, the total of those is 233,000, and what that would do is it would reduce the capital request at town meeting to 290,000. So with that in mind, you'll also see down at the bottom there's a list of roads down there. So these are roads that we need to address. We've worked with the town engineer on and so forth, the road plan, the selectmen, we talked a little at that in our workshop that we had. We talked about these roads. I've gone out, I've been asking for some proposals for estimates on road bonds, and one of the things that was suggested was, potentially why don't we roll our current road bond into a new road bond, But what I was made aware is that we could actually go into a new bond making our payment this coming year and then delay our first payment until 2026, so they wouldn't overlap. So one of the banks was kind enough to give us a projection, that was Andrew Scoggin Bank. And so I am gonna be making the recommendation through this process, as you see written there. I think rather than putting a bunch of money aside for road maintenance, because we do have a little over $100,000 in the road maintenance account still, as well as I'm projecting some money in the budget for general repairs too, I think that we should consider going forward with a road bond to be voted on at town meeting. We could start the work immediately this summer and get the work done, and then we would also be able to start making the payments in November of 2026, which wouldn't be part of this budget cycle, would be part of the next budget cycle. And then our bond payments wouldn't overlap. So that's something that I'll be pushing for pretty hard. So again, that's what you see with the capital. And then one other item that I'll throw at you on that. So if you were to take my suggestion on the capital and do 290 and do the rest from fund balance policy, you would see an overall decrease for town operations, including capital, of $295,000 to be raised and appropriated this year. So now I'm going to throw a monkey wrench at you. One other thing I would really like you folks to consider and think about. So this year I was working on the fire department's budget. Now when I look at the fire department's budget, maintaining the service, I will say that I think that the fire department is very well supported at town meeting. Every year for the years I've been here. But the projected budget is going to $1.124 million. $1,124,000 is the proposed budget. That's a $52,000 increase. Now, don't throw anything at me. If we were to consider going to a full-time fire EMS department, the budget would actually be $1.2 million. It would be a $195,000 increase. Now, I know that's a big ask, and the biggest part of me wants to bring that up because I think it's time to have the conversation with the amount of service and so forth that we're providing. But I'm certainly not asking for a decision. But if you were to take the suggestions on the capital, and you were to take say you wanted to go to the full-time fire department option, you would still be looking at a $153,000 decrease from last year. So I know I threw a whole bunch of crap at you guys, but just be prepared that that's the kind of stuff that when we get to the fire department that I'm going to be wanting to talk about. I'm sure the fire chief will want to be talking about and so forth. So I think we've got a lot of really good options here, but I think that some of these things need to be talked about more than just in the town manager's head. We need input on these things. So again, for those that don't remember, you've got the individual tabs for the individual budgets. You've got the capital tabs behind each one. You've got supporting documentation. If you're looking in there and you can't see something that you wish you could have, please let me know and I'll add it. I tried to add good descriptions on each of the line items so that you can see what they are and how I came up with the number or what the supporting documentation is. So overall, I think we're in good shape. And as a reminder, the first budget meeting is going to be next week, and that is March 11th, and that's at 7 p.m. for the budget committee. Of course, the selectmen is welcome to attend, but we will be going over police, recreation, and highway, and then the Board of Selectmen will be on Thursday, March 13th at 5 p.m. going over the same budgets. So there's your 30,000-foot overview right there. And nobody threw anything at me, so that's wonderful. Budget meetings for the budget committee are at 7, and the selectmen's budget meetings are at 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So, that's what I've got, unless you want me to go into further detail on something.
I'm good.
No, I think we got that.
Okay.
We have a couple people missing, correct?
From the, yes,
Did we know they were gonna be missing, or?
I did not.
So,
I'll be reaching out to them.
all right, just try to get them their books, so hopefully they're still interested and will be here next week.
Yes.
Yeah, but as soon as they get their books, they can dig into it before.
So there are 2 missing.
We have 7, right?
Yeah, so, yep. So, I know I'm drawing a brain cramp, that's horrible.
Come on, our two names and.
John is missing.
What kind of issues is that?
Everybody knows he's gone. I knew he was gone.
Yes, he said he was gonna be gone, that's right.
He's like, tell me what happened. I will.
He's telling me he voted in his stead.
I will. I'm keeping him off.
You know when he's back.
Yeah,
2
he's-
weeks?
Yeah, he's
I don't
gonna
think
miss
he'll
the
be here
first
for the
one.
first one.
Right. He made me aware of that now that she's anyways. But, all right, so there you go. That's your preview, and I look forward to going through this. I do ask for those that are new on the committee and everybody else, it's very helpful if you can review the materials before we sit down so that we can have an informed conversation, so. Good fun. All right.
Moving right along,
Yes.
how about the town manager's report?
What I heard, Floyd, is you want to hear me talking about.
Yeah, it is, really.
I'll just throw two things out there. Transfer station waste hauling bid is due on March 18th. The town fuel bid is due on March 18th. And once we have those numbers and the board makes an award on those, the updated number amounts will be put in those budget. So right now there's placeholders for those items. That's what I got there.
That's all you got, Bob?
I was going to keep it simple.
Selectmen items. Anybody got any questions? No problem. Number, no, not number, Schoolhouse Road. I don't, I mean, they got some, cones set up down there, so somebody must have noticed it, but you could lose a small vehicle in there. There's a pretty excessive hole getting down there. I don't know.
Yeah, our attention was tomorrow, we were told about it late today. We put bump signs up, and we're gonna fill it with some sand tomorrow.
Yeah, there's some bumps there.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else got anything? Warrants, 72 and 76, or 72 through 70.
Yes, please. Those are all filed up, please.
Yes, sir. Glad I see him.
So for the sake of Mr. Dillingham, we tried our best to ensure that the tabs are placed nicely.
Properly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Put those in.
Attention, Dana.
It's hard when you only got 3 or 4, but when you got 30. Just remember that.
Go ahead, what is it?
So, and one of our budget committees, and I looked up at her, made me remember. Everybody, I don't know if everybody reads the Sun Journal or the Bethel newspaper, for example, if you can see it online about the Oxford County Sheriff's Patrol contract that they're working out with the town of Bethel, or trying to. Karen's probably very familiar, and probably more familiar than she wants to be. I did email the town manager and the county administrator about those contracts and just keep putting an eye on them to make sure if any town, municipality in the county wants to contract the sheriff's office for police coverage, that said town should be paying for that police coverage. I'm not interested in the town of Oxford augmenting that bill. And I don't think any other taxpayer would be either, so. We pay enough money for our very well-trained, highly proficient police department here in Oxford. I don't want to pay for Bethels or Big Steels or Mexicos or anybody else. So keep an eye on it.
Oh, I agree with Dana 100%.
Did you write that article? That wasn't you, right? It's pretty good. To the point.
Maybe I didn't write.
Good call.
Wait, what?
When we started to discuss the budget, he left.
Probably didn't see coming into Christmas.
Okey-dokey.
Make a motion, we sign 72 through 76.
Second?
All in favor? You know, I'll make a motion for executive session?
Yes, please.
So moved, or we need to read it out, probably.
Yeah, would you read that, bro? Big
Second.
words in it, I couldn't.
Make a motion to enter an executive session, discuss disposition of property pursuant to MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Section 456C.
Second.
Sharon seconded.
All in favor?
Dana,
My motion, Sharon seconded.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Any hours of enjoyable reading here.
Oh yeah, if you can't sleep, that's it right there.
Get my husband to read it to me.
There you go.
That's,
Take about 10 minutes if you read.
Who's gonna tell him how to read it?
Jim, they're going into executive session, so I'm closing you down.
this is,
Did you guys decide when you're having the workshop for the ATV things?
2 weeks.
No.
the 20th at the end of the meeting.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Not next week, week after.
Right.